Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. This is episode 9 of Inside the Numbers. I'm Hunter Aschenbrenner, joined again by Jake Auerbach. Today, we have a very exciting episode. We are going to be previewing the NFL draft that is this upcoming Thursday, recapping a heartbreaking loss for the Knicks last night in Game 2, and then talking a little bit about the start of the NHL playoffs. So let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, obviously. So, draft on Thursday is one of the most anticipated days of the sports year. Such a fun night. Surprises. We're expecting a lot of trades. It's going to be a really fun draft, especially for both New York teams. You know, four top 16 picks. It's going to be a wild night. And then
Yeah.
Knicks with a bad loss last night. We'll get more into that. NHL, the playoffs have been great so far. There's been electric atmospheres, a couple overtime goals. So, we'll dive deeper into that in a little bit.
Yeah, so we're gonna have full mock drafts for the draft, and that'll be in the second part of the episode. But first, I want to quickly recap Game 2 of the Knicks last night. They lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Hawks by one. It is a disastrous loss by the Knicks. There's no other way to spin it. Look, I'll say this before I get into details about the game. I still have zero concern that they will lose this series. Like as we sit here, we're recording this on Tuesday. I'm not worried in the slightest that the Knicks are going to be sent home packing after round one. But the fact that the Knicks had complete control of that game for 45 of the 48 minutes, and they were dominating on every single part of the game, it's a disaster that Mike Brown and the entire Knicks just completely let up.
Yeah, I believe their largest lead was 14 at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and that was pretty late in the game, I think. So, I just think that it's terrible how they let this game get away from them. Obviously, everyone's going to pick the last possession. We'll get more into that definitely, but I think you can't just put the whole game on one play because they were up by 14. They were the much better team, and they're the team that's supposed to be coming back in these games because we've highlighted many times that they are the team that comes back in the fourth quarter. They are the most dominant team in the NBA in the fourth quarter, and that is not where we should be struggling in the playoffs. Again,
Yeah.
just game two, still a tie series, but just not a good loss at all.
Yeah. Look, we said last episode when we recapped game one how it felt like there was concern that game one against the Pacers was happening all over again, and it didn't. That's exactly what happened last night. They choked it away in the fourth quarter. They let up and they let the Hawks get back into this one. And CJ McCollum won the game for them. And it just pisses me off how they're like making him out to be a villain when he hasn't been a villain. He's just been another very solid player. Like Trae Young, it's completely different. McCollum's not killing us.
Yeah, I think the only villain aspect of it was his comments after game one about Brunson.
Yeah.
I think that's really like you saw Alvarado get in his face. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
the only reason he did that, and it was McCollum and not anyone else, was because I would say two reasons. One, because of the comments he made to Brunson after the game, and then the second reason he was their best player in game one
Yep.
and two. Just kind of get under his skin a little bit.
Yeah. So Mike Brown, as I said with him, he let up. His fourth quarter lineup usage was disastrous. Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns didn't play for a while. There was about 12 minutes where they were on the bench, both of them, which that's terrible. But even beyond that, they came back in when the Knicks were up 9. Like, there's no reason they should have lost that game. OG Anunoby, for the second straight year in one of these disastrous losses, he misses 2 clutch free throws. If he hits those free throws, the Knicks are up 2-0 right now. But he missed them both, and now it came down to, of course, the NBC mistake where it said the Knicks had a timeout. They didn't, and Mikal Bridges, I don't know why he didn't attack the rim, but he pulled up for a fadeaway and missed it, and now we're sitting here in a tied series.
Yeah, obviously everyone's going to point out that last possession. I mean, there's a couple of things that you can point at. I mean, the NBC really screwed up, and everyone thought they had a timeout. Even Noah Eagle said it,
Mm-hmm.
and people were mad at Mike Brown, but obviously not his fault. They didn't have the timeout. but people are saying Josh Hart should have given the ball to Brunson, and yeah, I kind of agree with
Yeah.
that. I think the ball needs to be in Brunson's hands, but
Look,
the
obviously,
Bridges had the best lane, I would say,
yeah,
but he didn't
obviously
even take the risk.
you want the ball in Brunson's hands, but if you watch the replay, there's maybe a split second where if Josh Hart made a perfect pass, he could have got it to Brunson. And I wouldn't look, I'm comfortable with a lot of people taking that shot. Bridges is one of them. Like, he is a good shooter. I would have rather him attack the lane. But beyond that, which is something that the Knicks need to improve going into game 3 on Thursday night, they need more from their bench. Like, they need Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet. They gave you nothing last night. Mitchell Robinson was great again, but obviously, I mean, he had his career high playoff points, but he's not a scoring threat. Jose Alvarado is not a scorer. He's just for energy. If they need more from McBride and Shamet, especially, and if they don't, Mo Diawara needs to be called upon.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, Shamit was bad last night. Deuce did not get going at all last night. It was just not good at
Yeah.
all. I mean, the bench really didn't show up at all. And you just need that. You need the depth to really show up, and that would be crucial for the rest of the series and the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah. So the Knicks, I mean, Jalen Brunson had a bad game. I'm very confident that he's going to be a lead on the road. He consistently performs in road playoff games like he did in Detroit last year, in Philly. So Brunson's gonna show up. They need to command this series and go up 3-1 back to the Garden, and I think they will. But a disaster of a loss last night, and just wash it from your mind and move on to Thursday.
I'm not really concerned with this series, but it's just not a loss that you want.
Yeah.
Meaning that it was
Look,
easy. You had an easy lane to go up 2-0 in a series.
exactly.
So
Look, Orlando beat Detroit in game 1. Like, these games happen, but
yeah, definitely.
you can't let it happen again. You need to command
Nobody
this
predicted a
series.
sweep. Nobody predicted a sweep.
Yeah.
So I mean, Atlanta was going to win one, but it's just tough that it had to happen in that way and at MSG.
Mm-hmm.
But not really too concerned about the rest of the series. I always had them in six, so we'll see what happens. But I'm definitely not too concerned about the rest of the series.
Yeah, the atmosphere in Atlanta is gonna be electric. That's one thing. Um, they need to be able to command that and go up early. Um, Carl Anthony Towns needs to get off to a good start. Jalen Brunson needs to get off to a good start. The defense for Atlanta was elite in that fourth quarter, and that's the reason they weren't able to score in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, good team. I mean, they're a playoff team. They're not even just a play-in team. They're a good team. You know, they got good players. Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson. Obviously, their best player this series has been C.J. McCollum. They're not a team that people should be like, oh, this is such an easy series. Obviously, I mean, we should win this series without too much struggle, but they're still a good team, and we have to give them some credit for that.
Yeah, for sure. So now I want to recap the NHL. The one of the main stories was Buffalo. They returned to the playoffs after having a very long playoff drought, and the atmosphere in Buffalo was absolutely elite. They dominated the third period, and just amazing moment for the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching that game. It was just sick to watch. It was their first playoff game in 15 years. This is finally the team that made it, and fans were nuts all game. As I saw before, there was a clip that went viral about they set up like a dummy outside in the Bruins jersey, and fans on skates were like fighting it and whatever. It was funny, but the actual game, they went down 2-0 in game one, and then Tage Thompson scored two goals in like 3 minutes. Place went absolutely nuts, and not even like 30, 45 seconds later, while they were still announcing the other goal, um, Buffalo scored again to take a 3-2 lead. It was one of the loudest crowd pops I've heard in a really long time. I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, there's playoff hockey is the atmosphere is second to none. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So there was obviously another huge playoff moment in Montreal. with the Canadians, if you want to touch on that. Obviously, you're the main hockey guy here.
Slavkovsky, sorry. Um, he had a hat trick in game one and the overtime winner um, over Tampa. Obviously, big start for him in the playoffs. He's been known to show up in big games a lot. Obviously, in the Olympics, he's known to be one of. He's only played in two Olympics, but he's been great in both. I think his first Olympics, when it was no NHL players, when it was just him and the juniors, he was the best player in the tournament. I think he had the most goals. And then in this year's Olympics, with all the NHLers, he was fitting right in. He scored a couple goals. He was great. So I mean, he just might be the next big time player. And then his first playoff game, he had a hat trick and the overtime winner. So he
Yeah.
just might be that next guy up. But I think Montreal's a good team. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it's been a really fun start to the NHL playoffs. Shockers around the league, but yeah, I mean that Dallas and Minnesota series I'm watching really closely. I think those are two real legit cup contenders this year. And it sucks that one of them is going to get bounced this early, but it's 1-1 in that series right now, so that's going to be a really fun series to watch.
Yeah. So we'll keep watching that Montreal series with Tampa, of course. All right. So now, I want to start our NFL draft talk. So obviously Thursday night in Pittsburgh, the NFL draft will take place. New York teams are the center of focus. Obviously, the draft basically starts at 2. So we both have mock drafts prepared. And so how this is gonna work? We did trades. We included with each pick. We have them all written down. So essentially, we will go pick for pick. You say your first pick. I will say mine, and then we'll discuss each one. So I will start off, and I assume you have the first pick as well. With the first pick, the Las Vegas Raiders are gonna select Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback at Indiana.
Yeah, I also had Mendoza at one to the Raiders. Not too much really to get into.
Yeah,
They already made the pick.
yeah. Basically, the draft starts at 2. And that is where I want to go now with the Jets pick. Obviously, going to go a bit more in depth with the Jets and Giants pick. I've said this. I believe Arvo Reese will be the pick, and I believe Arvo Reese should be the pick. So at number 2, I have my New York Jets taking Arvo Reese, the linebacker edge out of Ohio State. I feel like he fits in perfectly to this defense. I feel like he's the highest potential player in this class and the potential to be one of the best defensive players in the entire NFL in the next couple of years. It's funny. The Jets have been one of the most leaky organizations over the last couple of years, and that has completely changed with this new regime. The NFL landscape has no clue who they're going at number 2. Everyone keeps flip-flopping with who they go. Todd McShay came out today and said he thinks it's Bailey. And I will say this, if the Jets are taking David Bailey because they think he's a safer pick and because he's better right now, this regime should be fired right away. Look, the Jets' win total this year is projected to be 5.5. If you're taking a rookie edge rusher who can't play against the run to try and improve your win total, get out of the building. Like, that's a terrible process.
Bailey should be the pick, and I have Reese at 2 also. But I mean, this is tough for me if I'm trying to predict this. I mean, true 50-50 coin flip. I think Reese will be the pick at the end of the day. Um, so I mean, it really could be David Bailey. Um, I just know, like you said, um, pretty much just like they don't know anything. The Jets have done a very good job keeping this in house, and just nobody knows what it's going to be. People are flipping back and forth. People are saying that they'd be very surprised if it's not Reese. Other people would say it would be well, it would be very surprised if it's not Bailey. So I just really don't know what it's going to be, but I do think Reese is probably the smarter pick, and I'm going to pick Arvo Reese here at 2 for the Jets.
All right, so we both agree on the first 2. I'm sure there'll be plenty where we don't have the same pick. Number 3, the Arizona Cardinals. I have them taking Jeremiah Love, the outstanding running back out of Notre Dame. It was long anticipated that he'd be the Titans pick. I don't think he'll get there. It's been reported over the last couple days that that could very well happen if they don't trade out, and I had them sticking at 3 here. Mike LaFleur has had success with running backs in the past, and now he gets Jacoby Brissett, a weapon right now, but obviously the future quarterback, and we'll see if that's Ty Simpson. But I have Jeremiah Love going to Arizona.
Yeah. I also have Jeremiah Love at 3, the Cardinals. I do think they're going to try really, really hard to trade out of this pick. I think that their roster as a whole for the future arguably is the worst in the NFL, and I think they really just need to gather as many picks as they can towards the top of the draft. I think they should try to move down, get as many picks in the first 2, 3 rounds as they can. Just keep stacking up on good, solid players because one Jeremiah Love is not changing this team for the next couple of years. But I do think he will be the pick at 3. I think if he falls to 4, I think the Titans will take him. And if he doesn't go to the Titans at 4, if he falls to the Giants at 5, I think the Giants will take him. So I think he could really go anywhere between 3, 4, and 5. But that Jeremiah Love domino starts at 3 with the Cardinals.
Yeah, it would be a weird pick at 3 if he goes there. Running backs that high typically don't get they don't get drafted that high besides Saquon. And I saw that if they did indeed take him, it'd be the highest guaranteed contract for a running back ever. So we'll see if that happens. We both obviously have that. And as we move now to the Titans, with them wanting Jeremiah Love, I think the guy they will take instead now is Sonny Styles. When I look at Styles and how athletic he is, I think Robert Saleh is going to have a extremely tough time passing up on him. Styles is an unbelievable prospect. He's an unbelievable player, and he's obviously an outstanding athlete. So Robert Saleh is going to stick him into that middle of his defense and have him be the green dot, the leader that he needs to keep that Titans rebuild going.
Yeah, I think Styles is an option here, but this is where we are going to have our first disagreement. I have the Titans taking David Bailey at 4. I think this is where he goes. I think teams are going to be calling the Titans, trying to move up, but I think they're going to want their guy. I think some teams, potentially like the Cowboys, the Chiefs, some other edge rusher needy teams, could move up here, maybe at 3 or 4 to grab Bailey. But I think, or maybe even 5 with the Giants if he gets that far. Um, but I do think he goes to the Titans at 4. I think he makes a lot of sense for this team. They could use that real superstar edge rusher in a Robert Saleh defense, and I do think David Bailey has the potential to be that. So I think the Titans will take him at 4.
Yeah, Bailey definitely makes sense. With Jermaine Johnson in there as more of a run-stopping defensive end, Bailey as the pass rushing specialist makes a ton of sense. But you mentioned a team coming to trade up to get Bailey, and Connor Hughes has mentioned this. You said the Chiefs specifically. That's what I have at number 5. With the Giants currently on the board, I have the Chiefs coming up. And I just want to say we did all of our trades according to the Rich Hill trade chart, which is commonly used throughout draft analyzers with trades. I have the Chiefs coming up to 5. The Giants will receive pick 9, pick 74, and pick 109. So some more assets for John Harbaugh to build out his team. But the Chiefs come up and get an outstanding pass rusher to add to that D-line with Chris Jones and try to build that defense back up with Pat Mahomes missing the first couple of weeks of the year.
Chiefs and David Bailey, and I think the trade makes sense for the Giants. I think they could go a couple ways at 5, but I think collecting more assets, getting a high 3rd round pick at number, what was it, 74, and then another a 4th round pick at some 100, low 100 something.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense for the Giants to do, and I think it makes sense for the Chiefs to do, to use their draft capital and move up and get a superstar edge rusher. At number 5, I do have the Giants sticking and taking Caleb Downs here. I think it was between a couple of guys, Sonny Styles being involved. I think Jordan Tyson is an option at five. I think in the end, though, I think Caleb Downs will be the pick. I think the Giants love him. He might not be an elite athlete, but he's not a bad athlete at all. Um, he can really move well. He's strong, but I just think if you watch him on the field play football, he makes a play like every single time you watch him. Like he is just that good at football. It is pretty crazy. I think he is generational safety prospect. I don't think you see safeties like this ever. I think he is that good of a player. So I do think it would be a huge difference maker for the Giants in their secondary, which is pretty lacking right now. And I think it makes a ton of sense for them. So I have Caleb
Yeah.
Downs at five.
Yeah, look, Caleb Downs is an outstanding player. I think at 5, it would be a bit too high to take a safety, of course. I saw the other day that the last 3 safeties to go top 10, one of them being the Jets with Jamal Adams almost a decade ago, they all do not compare with Caleb Downs when it comes to athletic ability and traits and measurables. Caleb Downs is completely away from them when it comes to that, but Caleb Downs is an unbelievable player. You know, he was starting as a freshman for Nick Saban. Like that's generational in right there. So Downs, look, I feel like it would be a bit of a reach at 5, but still an awesome pick. So then at number 6, the Cleveland Browns. I know Carnell Tate has been mentioned as an option here, but I think Todd Monken and that Browns team needs to keep getting that offensive line back. So I think they're going to take Francis Mauigoa out of Miami, the big right tackle. Look, Mauigoa has gotten some heat right now if he's going to fall because of a back injury. I think teams will look past it and believe he'll be healthy. So the Browns take the first offensive tackle of Francis Mauigoa at 6 to plug and play right away.
Yeah, I also have Francis Mauigoa at six here. I think I was between two players. It's Mauigoa and Carnell Tate. I would be pretty surprised if they don't take one of those players, assuming the
Yeah.
board falls like this.
Hmm.
But I do have Maui Noah. I do think they want to really beef up that O line. I think Maui Noah is the best pass protector in the draft. Um, I just think he makes the most sense for Cleveland here. I think he could slide over the left tackle if he needs. He could maybe try right guard if he needs, but I think right tackle is probably his most natural and best position. So I think that makes the most sense for the Browns. But he's just a great player overall. He's just a powerhouse.
Yeah. So at number 7, I have another trade. I have the New York Jets coming up from 16, being aggressive to get Garrett Wilson a running mate. I have them coming up from pick 16 to pick 7 with the Commanders. The Jets are going to trade 7 and 187 to Washington for 16, 44, and 140. So the Jets move up. They're going to have to pay a solid price, but they will get Carnell Tate, the big receiver out of Ohio State. He complements Garrett Wilson perfectly with the size and the way they play. Look, Geno Smith, if he's going to be a solid quarterback and be what he was in Seattle, you need to protect him and you need to get him a lot of weapons. He's already protected with a very good offensive line. Now he needs another weapon. And Carnell Tate is right there. He fits perfectly. The Jets are aggressive. Go get him. And then, of course, the all eyes are on the 2027 class for a quarterback. You now have a 1A and 1B receiver to support that guy.
For the Jets, I like that trade. They're giving up a lot. 44 is a pretty big pick for the Jets, but they also do have 33. This is their second pick of the first round, so
Yeah,
I think
I would.
44 is very expandable.
Yeah, with 33, if this does happen, we only did the first round. I would be shocked if the Jets didn't trade back from 33 to recoup assets.
But I like the fit with Cornell Tate in that Jets offense. I just think he's a very good receiving prospect. I'm not sure how high his ceiling is, but I
Yeah.
think the pick is good when you have a guy like Garrett Wilson in that receiving room because you don't
Hmm.
need Cornell Tate to be that X factor wide receiver one.
Yeah.
I also do have Carnell Tate at 7, but to the Washington Commanders instead of the Jets. I don't have the trade. Um, they're great wide receiver from Ohio State and Terry McLaurin. I think the Commanders might just go the best available player on offense, and I think Carnell Tate makes the most sense for them, and getting Jaden Daniels another elite weapon.
Yeah, for sure. So we both have the same pick, but different teams.
Yeah,
And then number 8, the New Orleans Saints. I know Carnell Tate could be an option here if he falls there. Jordan Tyson is also intriguing here to get next to Chris Olave. But I'm going to have them going with Ruben Bain, the edge rusher out of Miami. We know Bain has he was originally projected maybe number 2, but then as the arm lengths really got shown in the combine, and then there was something outside of football with a car accident a couple years ago, which could cause him to fall a bit. I don't know if it will, but Bain is a great edge. The tape doesn't lie. You need to not overlook that, and the Saints will get Tyler Shuck, a better player on the defensive end. Quarterback's best friend is a good defense, and that will help their pass rush with Ruben Bain.
I like that pick a lot. I think Bain is a fantastic player. I think the Saints could go a bunch of ways here, and I think that they might just go best player available
Yeah, that's kind of what I
because
had.
they could really need any position on the field, which is why I have the Cowboys trading up to this pick and getting their guy Sonny Styles. I think Sonny
Hmm.
Styles is probably the best player available. So I think the Saints very well could take him, which is why the Cowboys are moving up here. The trade is the Cowboys get pick 8, and then the Saints get 12, 92, and 152. So the Saints get a couple more assets to only move down 4 spots and still be able to get a very good player. But I think Styles makes a ton of sense here for the Cowboys. They just need that playmaker in the middle of their defense, and Styles is a freak athlete who's an amazing player. I want him on the Giants if he can get to 10. Maybe pair him up with Downs. That would be great. But I think there are a lot of rumors about Styles and the Cowboys being a great match. They can maybe move up for him because he's not going to fall to 12.
Hmm.
And I do have that happening at number 8.
Yeah, Cowboys and Sonny Styles are a match made in heaven. They're in desperate need of a linebacker, and he fits what they want exactly. But we'll see if they are aggressive, like you said, to come up and get him. And now, after I had the trade with the Chiefs, the Giants are going to pick 9 and 10. And at 9, I'm going to mimic what you had. I'm going to have them taking Caleb Downs. So this kind of works out perfectly for them. They get the player you mocked at 5, but they're getting him 3 picks or 4 picks after and more assets. Caleb Downs, John Harbaugh loves his great safeties, and he's going to help command that defense. And we already talked about Downs and the Giants fit, so I'll let you make that pick at 9 for Kansas City.
Yeah, I think this was one of the easier picks here for me. Ruben Bain to the Chiefs at 9. I think right after Styles, he's the best player on the board right now. Well, Styles just got picked, but I think the Chiefs have really been looking for that elite edge rusher next to Chris Jones for a while. They've taken a couple in the first round recently, but mainly at the back of the first round because they've won a couple Super Bowls recently, obviously. And now this is their first time picking in the top 10 in a really long time, and I think Bain has potential to be the best edge in this class. I think people are looking too much into his arm length. I think you need to turn on the tape, watch some of his plays, because he is a game changer. He can single handedly wreck an entire offense. That is how good and powerful and strong he is. He is so smart. He is so good at football. I think he has potential to be arguably the best player in this draft.
Yeah, Bane you don't know what the potential is there and what his ceiling could be. Because he's not built like Reese or Bailey to kind of be that dominant edge force in the league with 10, 12 sacks a year.
I
But
understand that, but if you look at his actual production
yeah, he was
and
elite.
you watch his tape, he was better than Reese at actually rushing the passer. So
Yeah.
if you're looking past the athletic traits and the arm length, I think Bain might be one of the best football players in this draft.
Yep, exactly. And he turned it up in the college football playoff. He was
Yeah,
dominant throughout
yeah,
that entire run. So the Chiefs obviously they need to use this time to go and get a star player. Because you don't want to be picking again in the top 10 in the Mahomes era. So
yeah.
then at 10 to round out the top 10, I'm gonna have the Giants going Jordan Tyson, the dynamic receiver out of ASU. He's got wide receiver one potential. They don't need the wide receiver one. They need a complement to Malik Neighbors coming off that ACL and another weapon for Jackson Dart. Look, if Tyson is healthy, Tyson is going to be a very, very, very good player. And the injury concerns don't seem like they're going to cause him to fall. The Giants we see are in love with him, with how much Joe Shane has met with him and the Giants. So Jordan Tyson, number 10 to the Giants.
Giants. I saw he went out to dinner with Jordan Tyson and Joe Shane went out to dinner the other night. I think the Giants are in love with him. He is that good of a player. He is my personal wide receiver one in the draft this year. I just think he is that good. I think if I would compare him to a player in the NFL right now, it's Justin Jefferson with that route running ability, with his skills with the ball in his hands, with his hands. I think he's just a complete receiver. He does everything well. He posted a video on Instagram the other day where he jumped, it looked like 20 feet in the air. He was looking shifty. I think Tyson is the best receiver in this draft. I think if he could stay healthy, he's going to be an elite receiver one day.
Yeah, Connor Hughes put out a comparison, and he said a longer Garrett Wilson, and I think that's perfect. You know, you look at Garrett Wilson, you look at Jordan Tyson, the body control, the twitchiness, the hands, they're all there, and that's what he relies on. You know, Garrett and Tyson are both very good route runners. I think Tyson might have a little bit of an edge there, but they're not like Odell or like one of these absurd route runners like Chase. So you look at them and he's gonna be a very good player if he can be healthy.
He falls to the Giants at 10 because I just think he's going to be that good. So I have down. We both have Downs and Tyson to the Giants in the top 10, and I think that's just a dream for the Giants.
Yep, exactly. All right, so now at 11, so that's actually all for the New York team. So it's gonna be really interesting for the first 10
Well,
at
I
least.
still have one Jets pick.
Oh yes, yes, you didn't trade up. But at 11, the Dolphins pick, and I'm going to have them taking my wide receiver one and Makai Lemon. I hate that. I think this is going to happen to Miami. They got rid of Waddle. They got rid of Tyreek. They need to get Malik Willis weapons. So Makai Lemon, I think he is an outstanding receiver. He's drawn comps to Amon Ra, JSN, and those types of star receivers. So the Bolitnikoff winner is going to be headed down to South Beach.
Yeah, so I was between two players, Makai Lemon and Mansour Delane. I went the other route as you. I went Delane. I think corner is just as big of a need for the Dolphins as receiver is. And I think Delane is probably just a better prospect than Lemon is. But I don't know. I'm high on both of them. I think both of them are really good players. I just chose Delane with the Dolphins here. But I
Mm-hmm.
think both make a ton of sense here and both would be great picks.
Yeah, Willis, I just feel needs weapons.
Yeah, I get that.
Besides A Chain. And then 12, I have Mansour Delane going to Dallas. They need a corner. Just as bad as they need a linebacker after getting to Trayvon Diggs. Deron Bland has taken a step back. So they take the corner one in this draft at LSU. Originally, in like January and February, you thought Jeremiah McCoy might make sense here, but I think he's going to fall in this draft. So Mansour Delane down to Dallas.
Yeah, so 12, I had the Saints at this pick because they traded down with the Cowboys. I have them trading down again here. I have the Jets moving up. The Saints
Oh.
continue to gather picks. I have the Jets moving up to 12 to get their receiver in Makai Lemon.
Okay.
I think that makes
I like
just
what I'm hearing.
so much sense for the Jets. They need that receiver next to Garrett Wilson. You had them going out to get Carnell Tate. I have them moving up to 12 to get Makai Lemon. We just touched on him. I think he's a great player. I think he fits great with the Jets offense.
Yeah,
And
that
then the
makes sense.
Saints move down again and just keep gathering picks. Just keep. I mean, I just said it before. They just need as many solid players as they can get, and I think they just need to keep moving back and recouping assets.
Yeah, what was the official trade for that?
Oh yeah, sorry. It was Jets get 12, the Saints get 16, 103, and 210.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the Jets have a ton of picks, so I can definitely see them being aggressive, and they should. Look, Omar Cooper, he's projected to be the pick at 16 if they stick widely throughout the industry. I would go up and get one of the top three. Aaron Glenn was in Detroit when they drafted Amon Ra, so Lemon definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think Lemon's going to be a great player.
Yeah, so at 13, the LA Rams are going to be here after the trade from the Atlanta Falcons. And Matthew Stafford, maybe his last season, they need another weapon. Omar Cooper feels like a very Ramsey receiver. But I'm going to go Kenyon Sadiq and just get Stafford another superstar weapon. The tight end of Oregon. He's dynamic. He can play everywhere. So that's another awesome weapon for Stafford to add to Devontae and Puka and Kyron and Corum, just Higby, Parkinson. They've got a ton. So perfect
Yeah,
fit here.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Sadiq's a great player, a sick athlete.
Yeah.
I have the Rams taking Spencer Fano here. Tackle might not be their biggest need, but I mean they have really every position pretty locked up. So I think they might just go best player available, and Fano might be that. They can kind of develop him a little bit, and he should be a great player for them.
Yeah. Fano's definitely risen up draft boards as we get closer to draft day.
Yeah, definitely.
And then at 14, I have maybe the best and surest player in the entire draft at guard for the Ravens, Vega Ioane out of Penn State. He's plug and play. He's going to help out Lamar Jackson. They signed former Jet John Simpson, but after they now need to replace Daniel Falele at right guard, that shouldn't be hard, and they will get a star guard out of Penn State. He's going to come into the league and be awesome. And yeah, just perfect to protect Lamar and keep adding to the line.
Yeah,
After
I also
losing
have.
after losing Linderbaum in free agency.
Yeah, definitely. I also have the Ravens taking Vega Ioane at 14. I think he is pretty clearly the best interior offensive lineman in this draft.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe Francis Mauigoa moves to right guard. Maybe a guy like Fano can move to guard. In the NFL, I mean, all these draft scouts say that every tackle should move to guard every year. It's always like the top three tackles. Oh, this guy should move to guard, but
Yep.
we'll see what happens. But I think Vega Ioane is definitely the best interior offensive lineman, and I think it just makes a ton of sense. I mean, the Ravens are built up front. No more John Harbaugh, but they're still just a powerful run heavy offense.
Yep. So at 15, I think I might have the first surprise pick, at least in my mind. I have the Buccaneers drafting Colton Hood, the
Oh,
corner out of Tennessee, not Jamal McCoy.
yeah.
Hood has really risen up draft boards. Connor Hughes said the other day that he's gotten top 15, top 20 buzz. So I have the Bucks improving their secondary, getting Hood here, and it's a surprising pick for sure. I could really see it happening though.
Yeah, I like Colton Hood a lot. I am going to go with a corner, but it is going to be Jamal McCoy.
Mm,
I think this injury buzz is real, somewhat. Like I don't think he was mentioned as a potential top like 10 pick, potentially going at like
yeah.
7, 8, 9. Maybe being an option for the Giants at 10. I don't think he goes that high, but I don't think this injury concern is really as much as people are saying. People think he could really fall down to like third round, but I
Yeah,
don't
man.
think that.
When you look at those, like the knees, like Will Johnson last year fell because of this.
But Will Johnson had a fantastic rookie
Yeah,
year.
he did. Like when you turn on the tape from 2024, Jamal McCoy's elite.
He was going to be a
So
top 5 pick this year.
exactly, he's like what we're talking about. This time last year, before he tore his ACL, we were talking about Jamal McCoy. How we're talking about Leonard Moore in the upcoming draft.
Yeah, 100%. So I think the Bucks look past his knee issues and take probably the best, most talented corner in the draft at Jamal McCoy at 15 here.
Yeah. So at 16, obviously the Jets and the Commanders swapped here. The Commanders now they're not going to be able to get their receiver like you had in Tate. Dylan Tieneman is how I have it lining up here. A very, very good athletic safety out of Oregon. He can do it all. Versatile, extremely athletic, producer on the football field, and just a very solid player. You know, you've heard Caleb Downs as mentioned for them. Tieneman is almost as good. He's not like Downs, but he's a star in his own right. So Dylan Tieneman is heading to Washington in my mock right here.
Yeah, I think Tieneman's a really good safety in this mock, but I wouldn't say he's close to Caleb Downs. He's a great player, but Caleb Downs is just a next level.
He's probably more athletic though.
I would say he's more athletic, but I think I just Caleb Downs is that good at football. Like you look past the athletic stuff, you look past it, how big or whatever. I mean, I think Caleb Downs is just arguably the best college safety prospect we've ever seen.
Yep.
Like he's up there for sure. At 16, so I do not have the Jets here or the Commanders like you had. I had the Saints after moving down twice, and this time they're actually going to pick. I am going to give them Kenyon Sadiq here at 16. I think this makes a ton of sense. You know, Juwan Johnson's a good player, but what's it called? You just need to load up on weapons. I think you can almost look at Sadiq as a wide receiver, almost like a slot receiver.
Yeah.
And I think you can kind of have a 2 tight end set with Johnson and Sadiq. And I think he is so athletically gifted for a tight end. He ran one of the fastest 40s ever for a tight end. If not the fastest. Was it the fastest ever?
It was close.
I know it was up there, but I don't remember the exact time. But I think it makes a ton of sense to get Tyler Shuck, their next weapon next to Chris Olave.
Yeah, a lot of teams go with the 2 tight end set nowadays, and Sadiq can be used as a receiver. So I could definitely see that. And then 17, the Lions are going to pick. I think it's widely known that the Lions are planning on taking a tackle because they need to replace Taylor Ducker. They have Penei Sewell at right tackle, but he can also move over to left. I'm going to have them taking Spencer Fano. The Lions would be thrilled in this case if he fell that far. So 17, the Lions get Spencer Fano, the right tackle out of Utah. And just another piece of that offensive line to keep on going with their weapons with Gibbs and Amon-Ra and Laporta, and now protect Jared Goff even more.
Yeah, I think that would be great for the Lions to get Fano. I just don't think he falls that far. I think I have him at 13. I think that might even be a little far.
Yeah, I've heard.
He's a guy that NFL GMs really love, and before the Giants brought back Jermaine Illuminor, he was one of their top options at 5. So
yeah,
I think I don't know if he falls to 17.
Yeah, we've heard the Chiefs might take him at 9 to try and shore up that O-line. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I have him there in my mock.
Yeah, I think he's a great player. I'm going a similar route at tackle, but obviously Fano was off the board for me. I have them taking Monroe Freeling from Georgia. He's a guy that really riz up boards.
Yeah, he did.
This past season. He was, like, during the college season, he was looked at a mid-day 2 pick, could maybe even slide down to day 3. No one really had him even in the first round at all. And he was a guy that really has risen up through the draft process. I saw even a couple mocks that, again, like Fano, before they brought back Illuminor, that had Freeling at 5 to the Giants.
Yep.
Which I would be shocked if they took him at 5. But
yeah, for sure.
I think this is a great pick for the Lions. I think this makes a ton of sense. And putting him next to Penei Sewell is just one of the better tackle duos in the league.
Yeah. And then I have another trade as we move to 18. Obviously, the Vikings are slated to pick there originally. I have the Steelers coming up from 21, jumping the Panthers. They're sending 21 and then 85 as well to get this trade done. The Panthers seem like a perfect fit for Omar Cooper, but I have the Steelers jumping up to get him. I know they went out and got Michael Pittman with DK Metcalf, not George Pickens. But when you think of Pittman and Metcalf, they're both bigger receivers. They need that third guy, kind of a slot guy, and a just smaller middle of the field receiver. Omar Cooper is that. He was Fernando Mendoza's go-to guy, along with Elijah Surratt. The Panthers make a lot of sense. So the Steelers jump them to try and get their guy, and that's what they do here at 18.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I'm not that high on Omar Cooper. I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are. So I do think taking him at 18 would be a reach. But
Yeah.
I think he makes sense for the Steelers. They definitely have two great receivers, but they need someone that can really make a play with their ball in their hands. So I think
Mm-hmm.
Cooper makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
At 18, I have the Vikings here, and I have them taking Dylan Tiedemann. This has been
Yeah.
rumored for a
Makes a
while.
ton of sense.
I'm not sure if something slipped out of their front office or something happened, but I saw something. It was like the odds for every pick around him, like the next like 5 or 10 picks ahead of him, where no one was even within plus 500, and for some reason Dylan Tiedemann at 18 is like plus 150.
Yeah.
So I don't know if some word got out, something got leaked, something slipped out of someone's mouth, but I something must have happened because
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason that the odds should be this high for pick 18. So I'm going to trust it. I'm going to believe it. And I think Tiananmen makes sense for the Vikings.
Yeah,
Great
if he's there, I obviously have him at 16. If he's there, it makes a ton of sense as a kind of Harrison Smith replacement.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great pick by Minnesota and try and re-add to that defense. 19, I have the Panthers as they have to shift away from Amari Cooper. They're going to go Monroe Freeling. You had him at 17 to the Lions. Just add to that O-line to protect Bryce Young. Freeling's a really good player and will slot in perfectly there.
Yeah, I like that. I also have a tackle here, but Freeling was off the board. I have him 2 spots ahead of you. They're going to take Caleb Lomu here from Utah, Spencer Fano's teammate, which is just an awesome tackle duo at Utah.
Yeah.
But I like Lomu as a player. I think he definitely has some developing to do. But I think just get Bryce Young as much protection as you can, and he will continue to develop off that career year last year.
Yeah, I like that. It makes a lot of sense. I have Lomu going a bit lower. We'll get to that. Then at 20, I have the Cowboys sticking here. I contemplated having them going up or down. They're going to add to their edge rushing room. They're going to take Keldrick Falk out of Auburn. He's kind of a bigger, not going to get a lot of sacks kind of guy. They add with Rashawn Gary. I know they were really in on Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby, but now they get their edge rusher here after getting their secondary shored up with Mansour Delane. So next to Quentin Williams, they're going to have a great defensive line now. And Jerry Jones, I think this is a pick that definitely could happen.
Yeah, I also have Keldrick Falk here to the Cowboys at 20. I think edge is one of their bigger positions of need, and Falk is probably the highest touted edge left on the board. I'm not high on him really at all as a player. He's more of a run-stopping guy, which for an edge rusher, I'm not sure if it's the best pick in the first round. He's a freak athlete and a big body, but I'm just not really sure how good of a pass rusher he is. So I'm not really sure how his future is in the NFL, but I think it makes sense for the Cowboys at 20.
Yeah, it definitely does. At 21, the Vikings are now slotted in here after moving down. I have them going Peter Woods, the D tackle out of Clemson. Woods before this year could have been looked at as a top 5-10 pick. He didn't have the year he wanted. But the Vikings, they've kind of lost a lot in that D tackle room over the last 2 years. Harrison Phillips, Javon Hargrave. They're looking to trade Jonathan Grenard. So Peter Woods slots in there after moving down, so they get an asset and add to the defense. I really like that for Minnesota.
Yeah, so I still had Pittsburgh here, but I had the Eagles moving up to 21 here. I had them trading Hold on, what was it? I had them getting 21, and then the Steelers get pick 23 and 121.
So slight move up.
Yeah, just 2 picks ahead, but the Steelers gain. I think that's a fourth or a fifth.
Yeah.
I think it's a fifth, but um, it's just 2 picks. So I have the Eagles moving up to 21, and they take Omar Cooper. I think after the expected AJ Brown trade that will most likely happen, post June 1st, the Patriots. We'll see what the return on that. It's most likely a first round pick.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's 2027 or 2028. But I think Cooper makes a lot of sense for the Eagles here.
Definitely.
I think he's the best receiver left on the board. And he's not as big as an AJ Brown, and he's more of an inside slot receiver, where Devonta Smith is not big, but he kind of plays like an outside receiver a little bit. So I think Cooper kind of diversifies the receiving room and give Jalen Hurts that real short, over the middle kind of receiver in Cooper.
Yeah, I have the Eagles replacing AJ Brown as well, but a bit later in the mock at 22. The Chargers are going to stick here. I think they really want Vega Ioane, and I think they'll really try to trade up for him. I don't think they'll be able to, and they'll stick at 22 and take a key Mesidor, Ruben Bain's co-pass rusher down at the U. Mesidor is a star edge rusher. The question is his age, as he's 25, but the Chargers lost Odafe Owe in free agency, so they replace him with a guy that's going to come in year one and be a very good pass rusher.
Yeah, I think Mesidor is a great player. I have him going later in the first round, so I'll touch on that a little bit later. I have the Chargers at 22 taking Caden Proctor. Tackle is their best position, but I have them moving Proctor over to guard.
Yeah,
which I
they
think
definitely need a guard.
he's been projected to move over to guard again. I don't like listening to these analysts who, every offensive tackle ever should move to guard, but I think Proctor makes sense if he moves over to guard, especially with the Chargers who have Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. And I think Proctor is the best pass protector to left on the board, and Chargers desperately need to get Justin Herbert some help on the inside of that offensive line, and I think Proctor is the best fit to do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They need a guard to protect Justin Herbert back there. And I have Proctor going 23, but I have the Texans moving up from 28 with the Eagles in a trade. The Eagles are going to get, they trade 23 and 178 to the Texans for 28, 106, and 167. So it's mainly 106 as the added piece, but the Texans will move back 11 spots to try and entice the Eagles and sweeten the deal. Texans wanted to move up as the Browns could maybe take a second offensive tackle or offensive lineman. So Proctor at Alabama, you just described them. So they need to help out that offensive line after getting rid of a couple guys on that line in Houston. And that's where I have them going.
Yeah, so I have at 23, the Steelers moved back 2 spots with the Eagles. I have them taking Colton Hood here. Corner is definitely not their biggest position of need, but I think later in the first round, I think Hood is just the best player available. I considered Ty Simpson a little bit here. I don't think he ends up going in the first round, but I considered it. But just the way that the board has fallen in this draft, my next couple picks looking at it, couple receivers, couple D tackles, and a couple offensive tackles, and then a couple of edge rushers. I just don't really see the Steelers taking one of those positions, which is why I have them taking a corner here, or just kind of going best player available, because I think Hood is a great player.
Yeah, BPA would be smart, but corner would be a bit of a surprise to me for Pittsburgh. You know, they got Ramsey, although he's a bit older, and then they got Joey Porter, so that would definitely surprise me a bit. But obviously, if they're going best player available, just trying to maximize what is presumed to be another year of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but I don't think Jalen Ramsey should be a reason you don't take a great corner prospect, because even though he's still that good of a player, how old is he
He's
these
older.
days? 33,
Yeah, he's in his
34.
30s.
He's getting up there. So I think Hood, if the Steelers do view him as the best player available, I think that would be the smartest pick for them.
So as we move to 24, I have the Browns sticking here after the trade from Jacksonville last year. They opted to pass on Carnell Tate at 6 and take Francis Mainoa. And now I have them taking Casey Concepcion, the kind of slottish receiver out of Texas A&M. Look, Concepcion makes a lot of sense here to get that guy next to Jerry Jeudy to try and get whoever the quarterback is there, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, or if they want to go get Ty Simpson in round 2. But makes a lot of sense. They need a weapon. Concepcion kind of compares to Zay Flowers, who is in that division. And Todd Monken, coming from Baltimore, had Zay Flowers. So that makes a lot of sense to me with Casey Concepcion.
Yeah, I also have Casey Concepcion to the Browns at 24. I personally have him as my wide receiver 4 in this draft, just
Wow.
behind Mekhi Lemon and over guys like Denzel Boston and Omar Cooper. I think Concepcion is so gifted with the ball in his hands. I think he has good hands. He has very reliable hands. He's a very reliable and trustworthy receiver over the middle in that slot. He can play the outside a little bit. He's a great punt returner. He was probably the best in college last year. Um, I think he's just an awesome player all around. And I think whatever team is getting him is kind of getting that gadget, really good slot receiver.
Yeah. We both agree on that. So then at 25, I have the Bears making a pick that I have long expected with Caden McDonald, the big hulking D tackle from Ohio State, run stuffer. They need to improve that defense. You know, they led the league in interceptions, but the up front, the front seven wasn't great, and you know they tried improving their edge rushers. They were in on Max Crosby, where they were in on Kayvon Thibodeau, and it looks like he's not going to get traded. So they kick inside, and Caden McDonald is a very good prospect at defensive tackle, and he heads down to the Windy City.
Yeah, I like that pick. I also have a defensive tackle here, but Peter Woods is still on the board at 25. So I have them taking Woods over McDonald here. I think Woods is probably just the better player. And I think the Bears would take Big Peter Woods out of Clemson.
Mm-hmm. So then at 26, I have maybe a surprise pick. We'll see if this guy gets into round 1. I have him going to Buffalo. Malachi Lawrence, the
Whoa.
edge rusher out of UCF. He's kind of a pass rush specialist. So quick, so shifty on the edge. When I look at Buffalo, they kind of need like that edge rusher that can like get quick after the quarterback and finish quarterbacks down and get them to the ground fast. And they need the defense to be better for Josh Allen. You know, I think they'd be thrilled if Akeem Mesidor was here, but I don't think he will be. You look with they're coming over with the Broncos system with Jim Leonard. He had Nick Bonito there, Malachi Lawrence, another one of those like shifty pass rush specialist edge rushers. So that's kind of a surprise pick, but I think he might sneak in for Buffalo.
Yeah, I like that pick. I like Lawrence as a prospect. I was between receiver here, and a couple edge rushers. Akeem Mesidor still on the board, but
Yeah.
I have them taking Denzel Boston here. I
Wow.
think Josh Allen and the Bills have really been looking for that big body receiver since he got to Buffalo. They've been really looking for that wide receiver 1 ever since Diggs got traded. And I think Denzel Boston could be that. I see a player comp almost similar to like a Puka Nakua.
Wow. I
Uh,
was thinking like Michael Pittman.
I see Pittman a lot. I see
Puka.
Nakua.
Wow.
I see Puka as a player. I don't think he's going to be that good.
Yeah.
Not
Just the
saying that,
play
but I think
style.
player comp. I think that, yeah, definitely that big body physical receiver. I see a lot of Puka Nakua in his game. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Bills to go out and get a weapon for Josh Allen.
Yeah, I was thinking receiver, but after the trade for DJ Moore, I don't really know if that is still in the cards. So, Yeah, that makes a lot of sense though. And then at 27, I have the Niners sticking here and taking Caleb Lomu. You obviously had him going earlier. The other tackle out of Utah. I've heard that if he gets to the Niners, that will almost assuredly be the pick. They just re-upped Trent Williams, but they need help on that O line to keep Purdy up and healthy after he missed a couple games last year. So Caleb Lomu out of Utah.
Yeah, I also have a tackle here, but Lomu obviously off the board for me, as you just mentioned. I have them getting Blake Miller out of Clemson. I think the Niners are either going to go with an offensive tackle or a receiver. They're probably hoping for Denzel Boston to get to that pick, or a guy like Casey Concepcion, because they just really, really need a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But Boston went a pick before them, and I think tackle makes a lot of sense for them. Trent Williams, you just mentioned him, but he's really getting old. Who knows how much time he has left?
Yeah.
I think Blake Miller is a really good player. He's really strong. He recovers well. I think Blake Miller is going to be a good player in the NFL.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And now at 28, I had the Eagles moving down from 23 with Houston, of course, and I have them getting that AJ Brown replacement. And when you think of AJ Brown, you see a bigger receiver who goes up and gets the football. Denzel Boston fits that mold. So they're kind of replacing AJ Brown with a similar play style. Denzel Boston's a safe receiver, but he might not. I don't really know if he has the ceiling of the others. I also don't really love guys that rely on jump ball catches. So I don't love it, but Denzel Boston makes too much sense for Philly, especially after a trade down with Houston.
Yeah, I think after the AJ Brown trade, that makes a lot of sense.
Well,
For
the
the
presumed AJ Brown trade, it's kind of been confirmed everywhere that it's
it,
going to happen.
I would be very, very, very surprised.
Yeah,
if it
it's just
doesn't
the
happen.
cap why they got to wait.
Yeah. At 28, I have the Texans taking Cade McDonald here. I think they're going to look to beef up that interior D line because their run defense was not too good last year, even though they were the best defense in the league. But I think McDonald would just be a great player for that team.
Yeah. At 29, I have the Chiefs going Blake Miller as they need to shore up that O line. You already touched on Blake Miller as a player. I have them passing on it earlier, so they get it here at 29 with Blake Miller to Clemson.
Yeah. I have the Chiefs at 29 taking Brandon Cisse, a corner from South Carolina. I do have him getting into the first round. I have them double dipping on defense between Bain and Cisse. I think Cisse is just a fantastic athlete. I think he is a good corner prospect, and Chiefs could use a corner, so I think this makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, they need to replace that corner room after trading McDuffie and letting Watson go.
Yep.
At 30, I have the Dolphins going Zion Young, the edge out of Mizzou. They let Bradley Chubb go. They need to get that defense back going under Jeff Halfley. So taking probably the best edge rusher available now with Zion Young makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I have them taking Maxi Inachor here. I think tackle is a position that they could look for. I think he's a raw prospect with some developing needed, but I think he has the raw traits and very talented. He's very talented. I think he could be a great player for them a couple years down the line, and I think that makes the most sense for them at this pick.
Yeah, a lot of sense. At 31, the Patriots are going to stick here. They're going to get TJ Parker, another edge out of Clemson. They need that defense. Just keep it getting better and younger under Vrabel. Just best edge rusher available. It's one of their top needs. So I have them going that with the second to last pick in the first round.
Yeah, TJ Parker was a guy earlier in the year, or last year, or really 2 years ago even, who was a potential number one overall pick. He just hasn't been as good the last 2 years. His production has kind of declined steadily every year, which is not something you want to see. But if you're looking at his freshman year, he was one of the best players in college football. So
Yeah, a lot of
um,
people underperformed in Clemson.
no, definitely. Peter Woods, just like that.
Yeah,
They both could
exactly.
have been. They were both projected top 5 picks on the D line together, and now they're both questionable first rounders. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there. At 31, I have the Patriots stealing Akeem Mesidor. I have him falling pretty down because of the age and some injury history. But I think Mesidor, in terms of talent and pass rushing ability, could go right up there with a guy like Ruben Dane. Could go right
Mhm.
up there with a guy like David Bailey and Arvell Reese even. Um, in terms of just pass rushing ability, not talking about age or anything else, just pass rushing ability. He is such an elite pass rusher. We saw that in the playoffs when he really looked best all season. He complemented so well next to Ruben Bain. He is just quick, explosive, powerful. I think Mesidor is one of the better players in the draft.
Yeah, I didn't see him falling that far. That's
Yeah.
crazy. And then at 32, my last pick, I'm going to have the Seahawks trading out of the first round. John Snyder said the other day, the GM, that they want to trade out. They only have 4 picks. So they're going to trade 32 to Green Bay, and along with a 2027 six-round pick. The Packers going to send 52 their second, 84, 160, and a 2027 fourth. So that's a big price to pay to come up 20 picks, but get into the first round, which is very valuable. The Packers here are going to take offensive tackle Max Ihenacher out of ASU. You described him as a player. They met with him a lot through the pre-draft process, and they want to come up and get a first-round pick after the Micah Parsons trade.
Yeah. At 32, I had the Seahawks sticking and taking Zion Young. You got a little into him earlier, so I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I really looked into the Seahawks trading this pick. I didn't end up doing it, but I almost had the Rams moving up to 32 and taking Ty Simpson.
Wow.
I think they looked at him pretty hard. I think it could happen, especially with the whole Stafford saga right now. Who knows what's going to happen there? They just got the extension done, but
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, next year might be his last year in the league, so I think Simpson would be a great guy to kind of develop for a year under Stafford, get him in that offense with Sean McVay, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, obviously. I think Simpson makes a lot of sense with the Rams. I'm just not sure if they can move up and get him.
Yeah, if Simpson doesn't go at 32, as that will end first round 1. If Simpson doesn't go at 32, and the Jets at 33, we're not going to make that pick. We will see what happens on Friday, but there will be a lot of chatter if they're going to take him to open the second round. But they'd also have
definitely.
Emmanuel McNeil Warren is there. C.J. Allen, the linebacker out of Georgia. A lot of guys still on the board for the Jets at 33. But yeah, a really solid first round for both of us. I could see a lot of that happening.
Yeah, I definitely see it. And getting back to what you just mentioned about the second round, I really think that first half of the second round is going to be really interesting. There's some really, really top guys that I really love as prospect. You named 2 of them, and C.J. Allen and Emmanuel McNeil Warren. We'll see what happens with Ty Simpson. Anthony Hill, I love as a player. There's a lot of really good players, especially at guard, D-tackle, and corner. So we'll see what happens.
For sure. All right, that is going to end a very long draft preview of episode 9 of Inside the Numbers. We will be back on Sunday afternoon, I'm pretty sure, to recap the entire NFL draft, and as well as the Knicks, both games in Atlanta. In case, unless something else crazy happens until that, we have to hop on here. Everyone have a great week. Enjoy the draft. Enjoy the rest of your week, and let's go Knicks.